Hi, welcome to the Signature Required podcast. I am Miss Brittany Renee, and this is where we talk about your purpose, entrepreneurship, wearing your name proud, and everything in between. Today, we have my handsome fiance, Mr. CoEric Riley, on the show with us.
How y'all doing today? My name is CoEric Riley.
And we will be talking about transitioning from a professional athlete into entrepreneurship today. So let's just hop right on into it.
Sure.
So tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, what sports you played, going in from high school into college and professionally. Just kind of give us a little bit of background.
I'm from Mississippi. I went to George County High. Then left George County, went to Mississippi Gulf Coast Community College. Left Gulf Coast and went to Mississippi State. Then went to Tampa Bay. My time at Tampa Bay was short. So coming from the country, you don't too much get too many chances to be successful. So coming out of high school, I didn't have the grades to go D1.
Okay.
So I had to go to a JUCO.
Okay.
And that was the hardest thing I ever could done, go to a JUCO, because I didn't want to go to a junior college. I was way better than players that went to junior college.
Right.
But didn't know some of the players that I played with was in the same situation I was in. There was big time players too on the Gulf Coast. So I went to Gulf Coast. I played first year I played basketball, baseball, and football.
Okay.
So me doing all three, I'm saying that's too much on me. Playing, being in college, I couldn't even really enjoy my college life. So I quit baseball, quit basketball, and then stuck with football. Okay. So I ended up being an All-American in football at Gulf Coast, the number one player in the state, number 6th in the nation. And left Mississippi Gulf Coast and went to Mississippi State. But the bad story on that, I supposed to went to Oklahoma State.
Okay.
So it were these folks that I grew up with. I was best friends with their son.
Okay.
So they were big time Mississippi State people. So for me to pay them back for all the stuff that they done for me and my mom and my family, because they always was there for my family. They're always there for me. So for me, paying them back, I went to Mississippi State. And that's the worst thing I could have ever done, going to a college that I didn't want to go to. But the big turnout was I met a lot of good friends at Mississippi State. That's what the big output of it. I met a lot of good people that went to Mississippi State. The football program wasn't all that good, but it is what it is. Went to Mississippi State and had the worst career of my life. Played with 6 quarterbacks, and it was terrible. Played with a coach that was really like Uncle Tom. So that was the worst. The football career was it was terrible.
So let's kind of tap into that a little bit. So you were supposed to go to Oklahoma State, and you ended up going to Mississippi State, just feeling like you owed a family that did things for you and your family, that because they were alumni. Is that what you said?
Yeah, Mississippi State alumni.
Okay. And you ended up having, you said, the worst career of your life.
My life.
Of going there. Do you think that was because it wasn't the best fit for you, or do you think it was because you didn't really want to go there, or was it just kind of a lot of things mixed together?
Well, I didn't want to go there at all. And for me, I'm a wide receiver. I was a big time wide receiver, so the system that I come from a passing offense. So when I went to Mississippi State, they already had their players that they wanted on the big screen. Not knocking them, but that's what they want. They wanted certain players to do certain stuff and get the ball. So I went to a run, pass offense. Then playing with Coach Kroon, it wasn't easy playing with Coach Kroon at all. Coach Kroon was set in his ways. He was old fashioned, set in his ways, and for some reason he didn't really like me.
Okay.
So
going to Mississippi State didn't have the best career, but you made the best of it because you mentioned that you still got a chance to go professionally to the NFL.
Yeah.
So how did that work? What was the transition from going from Mississippi State to, did you say Tampa Bay?
Tampa Bay.
To Tampa Bay.
So the transition was played 2 years at Mississippi State.
Okay.
0 touchdowns, probably 300 yards, probably 15 receptions. It was terrible. So I knew this. I played against this coach in junior college that coached at East Central Community College, and he was a Tampa Bay Buccaneer. He was a scout for Tampa Bay.
Okay.
So he remembered me from JUCO. So I had a good pro day. And everybody at Mississippi State was surprised because I had a good pro day.
Mm-hmm.
I was a baller from the jump.
Mm-hmm.
I just didn't get the ball. I just didn't play that much because of the system and the coaching.
Right.
So this coach for East Mississippi, he like, I'm gonna bring you in. He said, if we don't draft you in the 7th round, we're gonna bring you in as a free agent.
Mm-hmm.
So he brought me in as a free agent with Tampa Bay. I went to Tampa Bay back with Josh Freeman went. We was in training camp. We was in shells. Shells mean like you in your shorts and your shirts, and you're not full gear.
Okay.
So the morning was I had a good practice that morning. The second day I came back out. I went up for a fade ball in shells, and when I caught the ball, I went down on a cornerback foot and tore my Achilles.
Mm-hmm.
It probably took me like 45 minutes to get to the locker room from off the ground. And by the time I got to the locker room, I had my plane ticket printed out on my locker.
Whoa.
Because being a free agent, you just a number.
Wow.
So I was tore in pieces. And knowing football is all you know, it was kind of hard to transition to something else. Because football is all you know. So I was sitting there counting on football for the past 3 years after that. Gaining weight and just sitting around, not working, not doing nothing. So it was hard.
It was hard.
Yeah.
Let's kind of tap into that, right? So a lot of athletes, it's their dream to play professionally. And if you grow up playing football, basketball, that's kind of all you know. And then you take a hit for the worse, right? And now you have to figure out what's next, because everybody's dream pretty much is to go to the NFL, although that's not always the case, right? So how was that transition for you, getting hurt, and then you said 3 years, it took you 3 years to kind of accept that football was over, right? What things went through your mind, or what things do you think you wish you would have done a little bit different, maybe in your college days or your college career, that could have helped with this transition from getting hurt into now having to find a job or doing something next?
I wish I would have finished school. That's the main thing. I'm a semester short for getting my degree.
Okay.
So I regret not even getting my degree. I regret leaving school early to go train for the NFL, and didn't really know I had a chance to even get drafted. I knew from the jump that I had no chance to get drafted, so I should have stayed in school and finished school up. And a lot of players, what they do, they leave school early and they get hurt or something happens. You got to go back to school. And some people don't go back to school. Some people just sit around and don't have nothing to do after football. That's why a lot of guys, like, I tell everybody, like, if you're going to leave school early, you need to be leaving for some meals. If you're not leaving for no meals, you need to finish. Because life after football, once you're done with football, nobody care about you no more. So as long as you play football, they care about you. You get hurt and do anything else, they don't care about you. Because when I got hurt, I couldn't even go back to anybody that said, like, I need help. Everybody was gone. Everybody was riding on his horse, like, okay, Cole finna get drafted, or Cole finna go to the NFL, or Cole got a shot with Tampa Bay. So when that ain't happen, I lost half of my friends, I lost half of everybody.
Really?
Yeah, it was crazy. So wow. I wish I would have finished school. That's why I regret my fitness school. So one day I'm gonna finish school one day.
What was your biggest inspiration? While you were playing sports, like what was your love about football for? Where did it come from?
Well, growing up in the country, you don't have no choice but to like play football, basketball, baseball. So you stay out in the yard all day. So we weren't allowed to sit in the house. And I grew up with a big family. And from the neighborhood that I'm from, it was a lot of kids. So that's what we done. Like in the morning time, we play ball in the morning till the street lights come on. Some day when the street lights come on, we still out there playing ball. So I just grew up playing ball, and that's all we had. That's all we had to do in the country. It's nothing really to do in the country. Play ball, you sell drugs, or you dead. And that's the only thing. And I chose to play ball. And plenty of time I could have went left and doing the stuff that my homeboy they were doing. I thought about it, but my dad was on my butt all the time. And one thing my dad told me, like, if you do drugs, son, or you do this, you can't play sports. And he knew I love sports. So they always stuck in my head. So every time I see somebody going left, I'm going right. I never been a follower. I always been a leader. That's why I'm in the position that I'm in now.
So let's talk about your transition from, going through that transitional phase of 3 years, right, of just trying to figure it out, and then going into entrepreneurship. So did you work other jobs? When did you accept, like, I have to go get a job where I gotta, now transition into that? And then how did you transition from that into entrepreneurship?
When I figured I had to get a job, when I had my daughter, Mariah, and I'm like, well, I can't play Baltimore, so I need to get a job. So when I finally got a job, I got my first job in Norfolk Grumman shipyard. So I'm walking to the shipyard, and you hear people say, like, that's that dude, CoEric Riley, used to play ball. And I always walk by like I don't hear, And it was so like embarrassing. So like, because I told myself I never work at a shipyard. I never go to Gulf Coast. So you got to be careful what you say out your tongue. So
that's powerful.
It was different walking to a construction site or walking to the shipyard and working for pennies. You might have an $800 check, but when they take out everything out, you got a $300 check, and then you got to feed your family. So I did that for a minute. It wasn't it. I tried a lot of stuff, a lot of stuff. Tried selling drugs, that didn't work. That wasn't me. Going out of town, working at different jobs, that wasn't me. So one day I told myself I'm finna go to Las Vegas. And I was tired of everybody. I couldn't get ahead from nothing in the world. So I packed my bag. I had a Mississippi State duffel bag. And I had a cousin that stayed in Vegas. I told him, like, I'm finna come to Vegas. So I said, man, Mississippi, it ain't it. I don't have no luck. I'm keep on getting dealt. So I said, I'm finna move to Las Vegas. So packed my bags up, moved to Las Vegas, met you, and the rest was history. So thank you for everything. I really appreciate that.
Of course.
For changing my life, and changing my kids' life, for changing my family's life, and for changing people's life around me. So I'm always love you for that.
Well, I love you too. And entrepreneurship is not easy,
No,
right?
It's not easy at all.
So,
But jumping into like sports, playing sports, working construction, and jumping into entrepreneurship, it's different. Because I'm really not. I'm a people person, but I'm shy too though. So being in this field that we in now, you gotta talk to a lot of people. So I had to learn to talk to people. I had to learn to like stop blowing up on people. Like sometimes listen instead of talking so much. So all this stuff, I've been doing it for 4 years now, and it still seems like it's new to me. So good thing I got a strong fiance behind me to teach me different stuff that I didn't know about it, and like lead me through situations and prep me through situations that that I gain now, that I'm successful with now.
So if you could tell a young man who comes from the same background as yourself, or may come from the country, or may come from a smaller city, or maybe a smaller state, right? That may not have the same opportunities of someone who is coming from a bigger state, or a place where AAU basketball is big, or travel and sports are really big. What type of advice would you give to them if they were a big time athlete, had a lot of scholarship potential, but may get hurt, right? What would you tell an athlete? What kind of advice would you give them?
I tell them, just stay focused on your goal and keep going. It's not how you start, it's how you finish. And like, you never know what your life will be 20 years from now or 10 years from now. She always give yourself a 5-year goal. Every 5 years, she gives yourself a 5-year goal, a 10-year goal, a 20-year goal, like where you want to be in life. And I didn't have nobody teach me that at all. I didn't have role models and nothing like that. I had an Uncle Rue. He always worked all the time, but he did the best to like prepping us like y'all need to do this or y'all need to do that. And I thought like, dang, Uncle Rue always on our head all the time about stuff, but he would tell us the right stuff, and I appreciate him for doing that. But like for the young people that coming out now, you know, just keep your head on the straight line.
Mm-hmm.
Everything else gonna be there when you get there, and never give up on your dreams. It don't matter how you start, and you just gotta finish. Everything else, you know, everything else gonna happen itself. And just keep on going, don't give up, and just keep God in your life, keep praying. That's the advice that I give.
What is your biggest takeaway from your life's journey this far in entrepreneurship?
What you mean by takeaway?
So, you know, you are in a different position now, right? And you come from a place that's very small. You have endured a lot of different things on, you know, your journey with going to a school that you didn't really want to go to. You had an opportunity and a scholarship to go to another school, but, you know, you chose to go there for various reasons. And, you know, now you're in a better situation that you've ever been in, right? But that still comes with challenges through entrepreneurship. So what would be your biggest takeaway thus far on your journey all the way up to now? And when I say takeaway, like, what will you kind of hold dear to you that will be able to get you to another level that you're looking forward to?
Just being true to yourself. Being true to the person that's close to your life, that person that's been there to you, the person that's been there for you when you didn't have nothing. It's just a lot.
Yeah.
That was a tough question for me to answer.
Okay. And that's okay, right? Yeah. So we may not have all the answers, right? And we're on the Signature Required podcast, which goes back to, you know, what is your purpose and wearing your name proud. And we definitely have to end with that because, you know, your purpose is tied back to you and who you are, right? And so with you saying that is a tough question. Sometimes we don't have the answers to everything. And in life, we're going to continue to learn, right? We're going to continue to grow. We're going to continue to evolve. And if we're not, something's absolutely wrong, right? But what is your purpose? What is your purpose in life now?
My purpose in life is like, you know, being a good husband one day, being a leader for my household, being a good father to my kids, having other kids out that don't have a father figure, that needed like a big brother role or a daddy role. My purpose in life is like making sure I'm doing the right thing, making sure you don't have no fake stuff going on in your life, and getting close to God. That's my purpose, is getting close to God. I want to be the person that people say, like, every time I talk to Cole, I see Cole got the same attitude. Cole was this person at one time, now he's the person now. I get a lot of inbox of people like, bro, I'm proud of what you're doing now, because I know where you come from. So my purpose is like making other people's life better than I had.
Man, that's a great purpose. And that takes a lot of wisdom, right? And a lot of praying and making sure that you are always standing in integrity, and that you be that leader that you want to be, because a lot of people are always looking in and we never know who's looking at us, right? So that's just super important that you make sure that you align yourself with your purpose. And I believe that as we continue to evolve and grow, we also have to be mindful of the company that we keep and the people that we keep around us.
Always.
Right, because you want to just make sure that you are feeding your soul what it needs to be fed to get the results that you want. Right. So tell people how they can find you. What you got going on? I like that Signature Required hat.
I got to run baby stuff now. Y'all need to get this into Required now. But you can find me on Instagram at CoEric Riley 15, or you can find me on Facebook at CoEric Riley. So that's all the social medias that I got.
And I know that you have a nonprofit helping young men. Can you kind of touch on that and, you know, what your mission is for that?
My mission is to like go to city and help kids that have trauma, or help kids that's going through stuff like mental health. That's me going back and talk to them and putting their mindset and everything on a different level, and letting them know, like, you don't have to do drugs, you don't have to do alcohol, you don't have to sell drugs. you don't have to be in the streets. Like, I just want to, what my plan is to put my arm around every kid, city to city, and let them know it's better things in life to do drugs and alcohol.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, guys, this is our time. I am your host, Ms. Brittany Renee. I'm a personal development coach and author, a mental health advocate, and we are going to conclude our time here with Mr. Riley. But you can find me at BrittanyRenee.com, Brittany Renee 247 on Instagram, and you can pick up your merch for Signature Required at signaturerequired.com. Stay tuned for our next episode, and thank you so much for coming on the Signature Required
Thank you, baby.
podcast.
Thank you. Love you.
I love you too.